Hey everyone, this is Steve Kik with the MMLA Connect Podcast, bringing you another episode. This time we have Brian Karaszewski with us from MGIC. Brian, thank you for coming here today. Happy to have you.
Hey, happy to be on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, we had to reschedule a little bit. We've had some sickness going around. I think everybody's getting it. My kid just came down with it today. Yep. We rescheduled you from last week. And then I had another guest for the podcast reschedule it. So glad that you're on the mend, Brian.
Yeah, let's hope we can make it through this week.
Yeah, for sure. 1 week at a time, one day at a time. But Brian, tell us about your career in the mortgage industry. You've been in the industry for a long time, with MGIC for a while here, but tell us about your career and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, so got into the financial services industry by way of commercial lending and retail banking. So started my career with Fifth Third Bank in Chicago and launched my career as a retail banker in the corporate headquarters in downtown Chicago, which was super exciting as a young professional and taking the train in and going into the big city and walking by the Sears Tower every day. Took that first role as a retail banker into commercial lending and was a commercial lender for about 6 years with Fifth Third, transferred with them to Detroit, where I live now, and was with Fifth Third for a little bit while I was in Detroit, and then left to take a role at Citizens Bank doing some commercial lending over there as well, and really got my basis for financial services on the commercial lending side. So dovetailed that part of my career into working at MGIC just totally by happenstance. I had a dad who was in the mortgage industry as well for 45 years or so, and he had kind of expressed some interest in getting out of the commercial lending, working for a larger bank, and he had mentioned a company called MGIC, and here I am today working for them for the past 7 years now. So loving every minute of it. It's been quite a ride, a lot of changes. This mortgage industry just throws you for a loop sometimes. So it's been fun. It's been challenging, and every day is something new.
So you mean to tell me your dad mentioned MGIC? Like he didn't? Yeah. Did he work there or?
No. He was a mortgage loan officer. He started his career as a mortgage loan officer, working for a bank, and then that kind of moved into some management roles. And he had reps just like myself calling on him. In fact, when I was a young guy, we used to have all this MGIC stuff lying around our house, and whoever his rep was at the time knew that he was a big golfer. So I actually thought MGIC was a golf company. So I'd see lob wedges or golf balls or tees with MGIC on it, and we'd always use them on the golf course. So
got some great swag. It works, right?
Yes, it's still the same stuff.
Yeah. Yep. That's awesome, though. I mean, I love that. That roundabout way of like figuring it out. Like you weren't even in mortgages, but your dad was, right? So you knew it. You were in the same like financial services, commercial lending. It's pretty somewhat similar, but definitely different.
There was always temptation to get into mortgage because it was something that my father did, but I always kind of wanted to blaze my own path. And that's why I sort of took my career into commercial lending and really my network kind of took me that way as well. But when the opportunity came over for MGIC, working for an insurance company versus a commercial lending company where you're really evaluating like anything, like your role as well in some instances is looking at risk and how to measure risk, and whether it's putting out commercial lending dollars in the form of loans or, getting loans approved on the private mortgage insurance side, it all comes down to risk. So really the career that I had initially chosen on the commercial lending side really dovetailed nicely into what I'm doing today. So when I talk with our underwriting team or our lenders that are our partners, like yourself and others, I can have some pretty good conversations. I might not be able to, completely understand everything you're going through because I've never been a mortgage lender before, but I understand the pressure that you're under. Look, we've got skin in the game too. We want to get loans done. We don't want to be the ones standing in the way of getting business done. So, that's kind of the value I've found in having that commercial lending background.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit, as a young person, you were in Chicago, you said, right? Like that had to have been a pretty cool experience as a young individual. Like, did you feel like the world was your oyster and you were going to all these big buildings and you were going to be the president or CEO of some big bank?
Yeah.
Right.
That was a great time. I was there for about 5-6 years, and my girlfriend at the time, now wife, she was the one that first went out there, and we were both, kids from the suburbs, never lived in big cities. We lived always in the suburbs of, she lived in the suburbs of Detroit. I lived in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, DC, and in Atlanta growing up. So to be able to live in the city and just being around all these different young professionals and networking with people, you just, like you said, I mean, you were naive, but you were excited, and you never knew where your career was going to take you. And it was just a great experience. Fifth Third was a great place for me to launch my career. And I'm still thankful for the opportunity they gave me, because, I did start out in the retail side, which is a grind. That is a tough role, being in the branches. You can have your whole day. Too. Yeah, you can have your whole day planned out, and one client can walk in through that door and just your plans out the window. So I learned a lot as a young lender and as a young retail professional, and I still draw on a lot of those experiences today. Yeah.
And you appreciate the people who are in those roles a little bit more too, right? When you've been there, and like I talk about this often, like tellers are the face of, a financial institution. And so you try to pay your respects to them, because I was one at one point, and it's not easy. Yeah. Everyone expects you to know everything, something about everything in the company. And they also, you deal with their problems, right? Usually that's what you're dealing with as a frontline customer too. So it's not an easy job.
Yeah. I think what I took away from it as well is, when I came into the branch that I was working for, it was pretty dysfunctional. I shouldn't say it. We did have a good branch manager at first, and then he left pretty shortly after I started. And the next couple people that we had, it was pretty dysfunctional until we had one more guy that kind of took over the reins, and he was a younger professional as well, kind of launching his management career, and he had been in my role and could understand where I was coming from. He had been a teller as well, and really gave us the confidence to do our job. And that's when I realized that there were good leaders and bad leaders, and how much that can, that's such a small microcosm working in a branch, but there's like 5 of you. And if you feed off of real positive energy, it can be a great experience. But if the energy is awful and something's off, the whole thing falls apart. So I learned a lot about, how important it is to be working for someone that is a good manager. Every step that I've taken since then, I've been really fortunate to land in roles that I've had great managers along the way. When I left Citizens Bank to come to MGIC, I think I caught a lot of people off guard, because I was pretty happy. It wasn't my manager that I was leaving. It was just, I was just kind of looking for a new challenge, and, looking to get out of a larger banking atmosphere. And I found a really, really great home at MGIC, but I left on good terms, and still have great relationships with the guys and gals that I worked with at Citizens at Fifth Third. And I'm really fortunate to have the same situation at MGIC.
That's great to hear. I mean, as you look at your career, I think the longer you're in business, the more you can reflect on your past and be thankful for the experiences and the opportunities that we've had along the way that got you to where you are. So let's talk a little bit about MGIC, though. I feel like we kind of skimmed over that. Like, you're like, oh, I've worked there for 11 years. What's your title there? What do you do on a daily basis? And tell us about that.
I've been with MGIC for 7 years. I'll be there probably for 11 here after a while, but 7 years, coming up on 8 here. And it's been a great ride. MGIC is a private mortgage insurance company based out of Milwaukee. Been in the business for over 65 years, and really, in my mind, one of the best companies in the mortgage industry, is as far as the relationships that we have established over that period of time. When I walk into clients, a lot of people have positive reactions to MGIC. I can't say that for everybody, But, that's my job. If there are issues, to take those head on and repair any relationships that may have been strained. Because when you've been around for 65 plus years, you're not going to be, there's legacy business that might, somebody might not be happy, but 9 times out of 10, the reaction's been positive. When you walk in through the doors and you say you're with MGIC, sometimes you got people that have already, that are working for LMCU or working for other lenders that used to work at MGIC as underwriters or different roles. So, it's a unique position. We're in a lot of different shops. We see how things are done at a lot of different places. And, so you kind of take note of the things that work well. You meet with a lot of different lenders, underwriters. The thing that's always fascinated me about the role is private mortgage insurance at the end of the day is not the sexiest of products. I can talk about private mortgage insurance and we can have that conversation, but I don't always want that to be the main reason I'm coming in. We're going to talk probably a lot about this today, but one of the things that I really feed off of in any role that I've been in is the relationship aspect of it. And genuinely, I want to get to know people more than talking about product. If they can trust you, like you, they're going to want to do business with you in the long term. You don't always have to just keep, beating that MI drum all the time. People get sick of that. They really want to get to know you at the core. And you really need to get to know your clients at the core as well. You need to know about their business. You need to know how it works. You need to understand how they've been successful, how their culture works, who's making the decisions. So that's really what it boils down to me. In MGIC is I'm kind of the brand in my market for MGIC, and if people don't like it, then I've got to figure out ways to reevaluate and that's the fun part for me is I get to kind of, it's an entrepreneurial business in a sense that I get to be my own business in my markets and bring, kind of wave that MGIC flag.
I think we need to hit on the point. You had a lot of great points there, but networking and treating it differently now, and like you said, going into an office or meeting with someone and just genuinely caring about how they're doing is one of the most, I think, important things you can do when you're trying to, build rapport or build a business or, in any sales position is, get to know the people that you're, if you're working with them already, or if you want to work with them in the future, get to know them as a person first, right? And then 100%. They're going to trust you. If you're not asking for their business off the bat and you just want to know who they are, man, it's so powerful, right?
Yeah. I've looked at this you got to look at it from a long game perspective. If you're looking for like the quick transaction, this isn't the business for you.
It can be, but you won't last, right?
Yeah, exactly. And people will see right through you after a while. If you're just in it for the quick transaction to make a buck, like that's not the way, that's not how people want to long-term do business with you. When I walk into, I look at it when I show up to an office for a lender, whether it's yours or someone else's, I'm a guest in their office. So you better treat them with respect or they can tell you to get the heck out. But when I'm in someone's cube or in their office, I'm automatically looking around the room because you know what? You're probably going to have a picture of your kids up. You're probably going to have some sort of, award that's over on your credenza, and just things that people wouldn't put those things out there unless they mattered to them. If they didn't matter to them, they'd sock them away in a drawer and they wouldn't want to show it. So if you pull on those things, those are just simple things from a relationship standpoint that you can just do by just looking around the room real quick. Be like, hey, like who's that up on the wall? Or, what's this award from? Or, oh, did you go to Grand Valley State? Oh, what brought you there? Get them to talk about themselves and get to learn more about other people instead of just sharing everything about yourself. If they really want to know about you, they'll ask. Get to know your clientele, get to know your folks genuinely.
Did you know that I went to Grand Valley State University? Is that why you said that?
Yeah, when we played golf, I found out about that.
Well, hey, actually, the perfect segue, right? Let's segue from what we were talking about into MMLA. And that is how I first met you, was the golf outing, right? That was the first time, I think. Yeah. Golf outing over on the east side, or Polecat. That's where it was at.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Yep, at Central, right?
Yep.
Or I mean,
And
not
I
Central,
remember
Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant. Yeah.
you're the second, surprisingly, the second person I've ever played golf with that played golf barefoot. It's unbelievable. And a very good golfer. A very good
I
golfer
forgot.
for all of you out
I didn't
there.
realize I was in my barefoot stage. Yeah, at that point, I didn't realize that. Oh man! But
So, yeah.
it probably explained why I played so well, right?
Yeah, you're feeling the greens. Yeah, you're feeling it.
Golf is not my forte, right?
I don't think, man.
We have fun. We have fun. But that was a great way to meet you. MMLA is a great way to meet people. Obviously,
Yep.
Brian, you've been a huge part of the MMLA. You were the past president for the Southeast chapter last year, correct? Currently,
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
Okay. So tell us about MMLA, your career, why you got involved, and why you continue to be so involved.
Yeah, MMLA is a funny one for me because when I first started with MGIC, I had quite a few colleagues that were a little bit more on the senior side, and as far as tenure with MGIC. Like 20, 25-year veterans. They had a lot of pre-existing relationships. They kind of handled the MMLA relationship. I just kind of showed up, right? It was like I was told to go. And, it was the same thing. There were organizations like this in the commercial lending side. But I didn't really truly appreciate the value of the MMLA probably until like the last 2 to 3 years. I really struggled with the MMLA to fully grasp, but the longer I've been in the business and now that I'm in more of a leadership role, I look back and I'm like, man, I really did actually get a lot out of it. There's a lot and there's so much. I just showed up to these events and didn't really put in much thought, like who was actually putting these together, how much time and effort goes into that, the planning. I just thought you could just show up and, people just wing it and put together a quick happy hour at a bar. There's a lot more that goes into it, and there's a lot of thoughtfulness behind it. And now that I'm in a leadership role and I'm leading the Southeast chapter, it's been fun to kind of step back and realize, man, I've gotten a lot out of this. And now that I am going to be kind of spinning off of this presidential run that I have this year and handing the baton over to our VP, Shauna Benner, at the end of this year. It's kind of fun because I've built a little bit of a team of some existing faces that people have seen over the years, but we've got some new faces that are coming and they're going to kind of be the next leadership group that takes over the MMLA for years to come. And that'll be kind of cool to be a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many great opportunities to get involved with the MMLA in so many different ways. I agree with you. My experience with MMLA was kind of the same. There was more senior leadership people that were like, hey, you should come to this event, and they would promote them. And I'd go to one here and there, right?
Yeah.
A breakfast or, an educational event, networking event sometimes too. But a few years ago when Kate McDougall came over, she kind of like really promoted MMLA and advancing your career. And Jake Williams was also starting to get involved, and he was doing the same. And I was like, maybe there's something more to it here. And you just find that, you learn so much more about so many different things that you didn't even necessarily know you were going to learn about. Yeah. I think for me, I know the back end and the operations side of the business and the secondary marketing piece. I've learned that stuff through my MMLA involvement, but also just knowing people like you and getting those opportunities, especially since you're mostly on the east side or in different markets. It's been amazing. I was able to go to your guys' holiday event, which if I would have showed up on time, I would have seen that you were the president and not the past president. I knew you were in the leadership team, but I thought you were, yeah.
It's just a title at the end of the day.
But it also is an important piece to show that you are stepping up and you are being a leader, though, and we need that. So we do appreciate all you've done and continue to do. And we love the smiling faces, Brian. I think that's one of the biggest things is we have a lot of really great people in our organization. And you're one of those people. You're always smiling. You always seem to have a great attitude. And the world needs more of that. The MMLA needs more of that. So I'm just thankful that, you continue to lead and be a part of the MMLA.
I appreciate it. And yeah, I think, that's all we really can do is continue to welcome people into the group and try to grow it organically. It's always fun when you see a face that shows up to some of these events like yourself that comes all the way over from the west side of the state to be at an east side function. It's like, holy cow, like how awesome is that? And it was just, you're the first person that I can remember that's done something like that from the lending side. And we do have some others that will do that from time to time, but that's exciting because I don't get to the west side as much as I used to now with my territory, growing more to Ohio and eastern Michigan. I miss a lot of the faces that I used to cover over on the west side, and the funny thing is now that I've found the value in the MMLA as I've kind of seasoned in this role at MGIC, as my territory has grown, I've found the value of getting plugged into the other chapters in Ohio through the MBA and how quickly you can grow your network, because that's essential to my role. Is when I get into a new territory, how am I going to get to know each other, get to know one another quicker. And this accelerates it. So
absolutely.
From a vendor perspective, it's unique in that aspect.
Yep. You got access to a lot of people through these associations.
Yep. For sure.
Can you tell us anything you got going on at MGIC right now that's, of particular interest for, the market or anything? Maybe not necessarily sharing trade secrets, but anything going on in the industry or at MGIC that you want to talk about?
MGIC from a product perspective, I wouldn't say there's anything new and exciting at this point, but from a clear and cut private mortgage insurance perspective, what I would encourage people to do is get to know your rep, whether it's MGIC or somebody else. Get to know your rep on the MI side. That can pay dividends down the road for saving deals, getting to know the product sets that we have. Because if you're a depository or a credit union or a smaller community bank that's looking to grow your portfolio business, there's a lot of offerings out there that MGIC and other MI companies can bring to the table to help you grow your business. And you may not be aware of it. So make sure that you're kicking the tires on getting to know your rep. If you're running into a sticky situation on a particular deal, there might be a way that we might be able to push it through. Again, we have skin in the game. We want to get these deals done as badly as you guys do. And sometimes the answer is not the answer you want to hear. But if you don't get the feedback from the underwriter that you are, working with on a particular loan, reach out. From a non-MI product standpoint, something unique to MGIC that we've rolled out over the last few years is that we've entered in the CE the CE credit space. So we've partnered up with CE Marketplace, and you've taken advantage of this.
Yep.
And we've rolled out, I think, 3 new CE courses that are all worth 2 CE credits a piece for realtors. So if you're a loan officer that's looking to grow your market and grow your networking group through the realtor space, leverage us for those courses that you can take advantage of. There's no cost to you. We bring the materials. A lot of times, you're really just on the hook to make sure that we have an audience to provide the materials to. We're doing that in Ohio as well, which is awesome. So now that I've taken over a large part of the Ohio market, we've gotten that approved this past year. So we're going to look to continue to grow that. We've seen a lot of people take us up on that offer, and I think people have found value in it. And that's a unique thing that I think some of our competitors may not be paying as much attention to, or maybe just don't want to get in that space because there is a little bit of work involved. But we also have a pretty unique value-added material that lends itself to being, approvable for CE credit. So we're pretty fortunate from that perspective.
That course, and I didn't know that you have 3 more courses available. So I already have something to go research after this meeting and take a look at, because I've done the initial course that you've had once.
For Sale to Sold, I think is the one that you did.
Yep. And it was great. We had a good turnout for it being the first, event that I ever ran. I think we had about 15 people there, 15 realtors,
Yeah.
and most of them, some of them were people I knew, but a lot of them were actually realtors I had never met before.
That was going to be my
so
question.
That was pretty cool to see,
That's
usually
awesome.
you have your normal supporters out there, but there was agents that I had never met before. So that was pretty cool to see.
And that's unique to you, because I can tell you right now, there's not a lot of LOs that want to take the initiative to do that. They're just either it's they've been in the business for a long time and they don't feel like they need to do that because they've got their network established, which I don't buy that. You can always be growing your network more, or they're just nervous. They don't want to be in front of people. They don't want to do the presentation. On two of them, actually, we do the presentation for you. So really, you're just an event planner for us. You get the space, you find the space. We can help you with that as well. And we can give you ideas on how other LOs that have done it were successful in it. So
the thing that's really great about it too is it allows for some customization, right? Like you can present the information as a loan officer, in any which way that you want to, right? It's customizable, and you can touch on whatever points you do and don't want. So if you're looking for something great as a loan officer, check out MGIC's website, because those classes, those CE courses that can be taught by loan officers are a huge asset. It is awesome. So
appreciate that.
Glad you touched on that.
Yep.
Well, we've talked enough business here. Can we talk a little bit about your personal life? Tell us about, the real Brian and, what you do outside of the MGIC space.
Yeah.
Do you have a family? What's going on?
No, I live in Royal Oak, Michigan. I grew up kind of bouncing around. My dad, like I mentioned, was in the mortgage banking business and in the banking world. And at that time, there were a lot of acquisitions and mergers. So we bounced around a little bit from, DC to Pittsburgh to Atlanta. And then I landed at Michigan State and went off to Chicago, came back to Detroit, where my wife is from. And we settled down in Royal Oak. I got to actually pick that. That was the one thing she let me do. So
it's a good spot.
Yeah, it's a great central location. We've got 3 boys, 9, 7, and 3, and they keep us super busy. As you know, Steve, I know you're in the same boat. So, if I'm not working, I'm either shuffling kids around to hockey rinks and baseball fields, and so we stay really busy with the youth sports scene here. And if I do try to get away for some, me time, it's usually on a golf course or just traveling as I can. We've got a place up in Hale, Michigan that we have in the family, and so we'll spend some time up. Yeah, it's just east of West Branch. So that's
HAIL?
HALE.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you're a Spartan, but you have a place in Hale, Michigan. I was
no, absolutely not. Yeah, no. We it's in between Taos and in West Branch. So we spend some time up there as we can, but with the boys keeping us busy or with sports, it's harder to get up there. But so that's me. Not too exciting, but it's family. It's all family for me right now.
I think we look at it and society tells us it's not exciting, but like going to the hockey rink or the baseball field or whatever it is that your kids do, it's pretty cool. I always say, to people now, my favorite athletes are my kids. I don't care about watching anybody else. I'll watch, a football game or whatever here and there. But if my kids got sports, I'm not worried about missing out on that game, so.
You're right. I actually just had that same feeling this weekend. Michigan State, they're playing pretty well in basketball right now. And, they had a game against, I don't even remember who it was against. Oh, it was against USC. And it was at like 4:30 in the afternoon. Before kids, I would have done everything to make sure that I was in front of the TV to watch that.
Yeah.
No, we had baseball practice and I didn't even know what the score was, nor did I. I was like, I'll catch that later. I'm more in the moment now. But if I do get the time, I'll watch those games, but further and few between now.
Well, you're a dad and a husband, and you seem to really enjoy it and do a good job at it. So
appreciate it, man.
Sounds like you're using your time wisely when you're not working hard. So
we're busy.
I know you got to get going soon here, so we can get things wrapped up. I appreciate your time today. But before we go, I always ask everyone to leave us with something positive. So leave leave our listeners with one positive spin or one positive take on the industry or life or anything.
Yeah, I think I love this question, and because I think there's so many tough headlines out there for our industry, and it's been a little bit of a slog here over the last couple of years since, our big run during COVID.
The headlines haven't been getting better. They really haven't.
We can't control that at the end of the day. We can't control what's going on around us. And we've talked, the common theme I think today has been relationships. And whether you're an MI rep or a lender, everybody wants to make us a rate. Everybody wants to turn us into a rate. And at the end of the day, relationships still matter. And they're still key to everything we do, whether it's work, our personal life, everything revolves around relationships. If you're not investing in those relationships and you're not expanding your network, you're going to be dead in the water. And they still matter. They really do. I mean, it shows if you take a step back from your business and you look at where your business is coming from on my side or your side, you're going to see a lot of those, the repeat of customers are coming from people that you've invested in relationships with. And you've taken the time to get to know them. Continue to do that. Technology makes it more and more difficult for that to ring true, but it still is the truth right now. So
I agree. Pick up the phone, meet someone face to face,
Yes.
Getting belly to belly. That's what it's all about.
It's a lost art. So
for sure. Well, hey man, I think that's some great advice. I appreciate your time and you sharing your story with us, Brian. And thank you for those of you who listen to us. We hope that you share our message and invite other people to listen. And we look forward to bringing you another MMLA Connect podcast. Thanks for listening.